Today, we're going to dive into the pretty incredible story of a man named Semi Ratulele. It's a journey that takes us from the islands of Fiji right into the deepest corners of the human heart, really exploring identity, pain, and what it actually takes to find true freedom.
His whole story really kicks off with this one quote. I mean, just think about that. Two dreams, growing up in the same kid, pulling his soul in completely opposite directions. One was this dream of glory, of fame, and the other, a dream of pure vengeance. This conflict, this powerful clash, would define the entire first half of his life.
But, before we really get into that conflict, we have to understand where Semi comes from. And it all starts with his name, which, it turns out, holds a major clue to the man he was always meant to become, even when he couldn't see it himself.
So there's actually a destiny woven right into his name, Ratulele. In Fijiano, it means a chieftain, a leader from a royal line whose whole purpose is to connect with his people. But for years and years, Semi had absolutely no idea his name carried all this weight, this incredible purpose.
And that's because that noble identity, it was completely buried. It was totally overshadowed by this deep wound left by the father he never knew. A wound that just grew and grew in the dark, and it shaped everything he did and, well, everything he wanted.
So let's go back to those two dreams we mentioned, because this is really the core of the battle that was just raging inside of him.
On one hand, you've got this ambition to be a national hero, right? To play rugby for Fiji, something he was actually working towards. And then, on the other hand, this dark, violent fantasy of getting revenge on the man who left his mother when she was just a teenager. These two thoughts live side by side in his mind. It's just wild.
His life was just a masterclass in contradiction. I mean, he grew up in the church, but his heart just wasn't in it. He'd literally go to a Catholic church just to steal shoes that people left outside, sell them, and use that money for drugs. Then on Sunday, you could find him in the choir at the Methodist church singing praises. His body was in one world, but his heart and mind, they were somewhere else entirely.
So what changes a life like that? You might think it was some big dramatic sermon or a huge intervention from his family. But nope, it was a simple question he overheard on the radio while he was just doing a household chore. Okay, so picture this. The moment that changed everything happened just 2 days before Christmas. He's cleaning his grandma's house, the radio's on, and this typical holiday ad comes on. But right at the very end, a woman's voice asks this simple, piercing question. And in that moment, something just broke open. He said it was like all the things he learned in church his entire life suddenly clicked into place. It all just made sense, and the tears just started to flow. That one question on the radio completely rerouted his entire destiny. But this new path didn't just magically erase his past, not at all. In fact, it led him directly toward the source of his greatest pain, forcing him to confront that dream of vengeance he had held on to for so long.
And you have to understand what a confrontation this would be. His father wasn't just some abstract idea of a person to hate. He was real and seriously intimidating. We're talking about a 6'6" military commander in the Fijian army. This was the man Semi knew he had to face. When he finally stood in front of his father, he spoke these incredible words. He made it so clear that this act of forgiveness, it wasn't about letting his dad off the hook. No, this was about freeing himself from the poison of hatred he'd been carrying his entire life. It was an act of personal liberation.
And what happened next is just stunning. Just 2 weeks, only 2 weeks after this moment of forgiveness and reconciliation, Sami's father passed away. He had confronted his past and he freed himself from it, just in the nick of time.
So this is an incredible, very personal story. But what does it teach us? Well, Semi's journey actually offers a universal lesson about how we can all find freedom from our own pasts. It all starts with this concept, the image of God. The idea is that every single person, from the person you love the most to the one who drives you absolutely crazy, is created with inherent worth. So to judge another person, as Simika says, is to judge the creation of God. And that understanding is what makes forgiveness even possible.
He then lays out how our deepest struggles often begin. It starts with a wound, right? Maybe a small sin or a hurt. But if we leave it in the dark, if we just try to ignore it, it grows these deep roots inside of us. And so often, he says, addiction is just a symptom, a direct result of us trying to cope with these unhealed wounds.
And this is the real cost of not dealing with those wounds. Hiding our secrets, our pain, our shame, it takes a massive, constant drain of our energy. It is exhausting to maintain the walls we build around our darkest places.
Which leads to his core message, his call to action for all of us. Bring those secrets into the light. And why? Because once they're exposed, once they're spoken, they lose their power over you. The enemy, as he puts it, cannot use what is already in the light.
And this brings the lesson right back to us. It really forces us to ask, what are we hiding? What parts of our past are we spending so much energy trying to keep buried? And maybe most importantly, what power do those secrets still have over our lives today?
Ultimately, Semi's story shows us that freedom isn't about pretending the past didn't happen. Not at all. It's found by facing it, by speaking it into the light, and by forgiving it. It's about making a conscious choice to rob the past of its ability to write your future.